If you're looking for electric sedans in Singapore, by now we've seen the BYD Seal, we've seen the Tesla Model 3, and even the Ion ES. But if you're looking for something premium and upmarket, an electric and a sedan, then we have this. This is the Hyundai Ioniq 6. And this is made, well, assembled in Singapore. So is this the electric sedan that you want? Today, we'll find out. Now, before we find out more about this Hyundai Ioniq 6, if you're thinking about buying a car like this and trading in your car, try selling it with Quotes instead. Quotes helps you sell your car quickly and easily with the new Quotes doorstep. Get a professional inspection by our certified mechanics at your convenience anywhere on the island. Quotes will then auction out your car online to its wide network of dealers to bid on your car. Once bidding is complete, Quotes will update you with the best offer price at no obligation. It's that easy. To find out more, visit quotes.com.sg. That's QUOTZ.com.sg. Now let's find out more about this Ioniq 6.
The Hyundai Ioniq 6 Prestige 77 kWh is priced at $227,000. The single electric motor produces 225 brake horsepower and 350 Nm of torque. The single-speed transmission brings the car from 0 to 100 km per hour in 7.4 seconds. The 77 kWh battery provides a drive range of up to 614 km. For more details on the Hyundai Ioniq 6 Prestige 77 kWh or any other car, head on to Sgcarmart.com to help you make the smart choice on your next car.
Now, sedan or maybe streamliner, this car is designed to meet as little aerodynamic drag as possible, and that's probably the answer as to why you see such a unique shake coming from this car. Over down here, you're going to find full LED treatments for your daytime running lights, signals, and headlights. You're going to start to notice a lot of little dots that make an appearance throughout the rest of the car. Now, moving down here, you get active air vents that open up and close depending on whether they need cooling and heating or whether they need a little less aero performance. Now, moving down the side of the car, you're going to find 18-inch rims in the first 3 trims and then 20-inch rims on the Inspiration trim. And then down here, the recurrent theme of dots are also here on your signal repeater. And then you move down here, you get electronically folding handles that fold out so you don't have to poke your way, kind of like the Tesla. And then another dot here, which is your keyless entry, but you don't really need that because when you approach the car will unlock itself and offer you the handle. Open up the door, you're going to find normal doors. In the Model 3, you're going to find frameless windows. Now, moving down the rest of the car, things start to get a little bit sloping for this streamliner at the rear. And if you'll notice, on the shark's fin antenna, it's actually a little bit translucent so you can look inside the parts, and that's something pretty cool that I've never seen on another car. Now oh wait, one more thing. There's an electronic charge port here that opens up nicely, kind of like your Ioniq 5, and this thing takes up to 350 kilowatt DC fast charging, so 10 to 80% in just 18 minutes. Now let's check out the rear. Over by the rear, things are going to get a little bit sticky. Let's first start off with the design cues. You have lines up here, you have dots up here. The recurrent theme of dots are very apparent here, and it gives you an instant light signature that you can tell on the road. And then you can also look at its similar friends like the Kona EV, so it gives a nice familiarity to the whole theme. Now look at here, you're going to find like a 2-level wing system. I kind of really like this. This is one of those cars where you see it in the pictures, it looks really good, but when you see it in real life, something looks a bit off. Maybe because this kind of reminds me of like the Porsche 993, that beautiful 2-spoiler system. But then when you see it in real life, it's really big at the bottom, but the bottom also comes up really high. It's kind of like a Dakar, but this is not a Dakar, this is a electric machine. And then let's move on. If you open up the boot, you're gonna find 401 liters worth of... Sorry, the car's on, that's why the power tailgate isn't working with the key. You're gonna find 401 liters worth of boot space, which is very comparable to the BYD Seal's 400 liters, but they both lose out to some 500 plus liters in the Tesla Model 3. But no problem at all, it will swallow up the anti-trolley length test, no problem at all, as well as your luggage. Plenty of space in this streamliner. Open up the second floor and you'll find your tire mobility kit as well as your V2L kit. Speaking of V2L, this does external V2L as well as internal V2L. Over here, you're going to find seat releases, so it's really easy to knock down the seat if you are doing it from the boot. Now let's check out the inside. Now over in the rear of the Ioniq 6, I'm 1.75 meters tall, and thanks to its sloping roofline, you can see I pretty much have no headspace at all. This is kind of a few fingers worth, but you can slightly lean back for a slightly better position. Now if you compare it to Model 3 and BYD Seal, those will have the panoramic sunroof, so you win some, you lose some, you win some extra headspace, feely, things feel less restricted, but I really appreciate a sunroof with a cover, which this Ioniq 6 has, so it doesn't get that hot. Now, in terms of amenities for the rest of the cabin, you're gonna find your door handle here with some ambient lighting and a little pocket here for you to store your phone. There's also a secondary door bin right here. You're gonna find magazine covers, which are cloth netting, and aircon. Too bad it's right here because I really like the Ioniq 5s where it was at the side over here, so it's not just, you know, blowing your family jewels. Over by the middle, you get a pull-down armrest for your center compartment. And then if there's 5 people, you want to shift over to the middle, it is fairly simple with a flat floor. Because the batteries are underneath, the floor is rather high, so you know, you're gonna get this little kind of, the legs aren't gonna be as rested as possible. But in terms of charging, there are 2 USB-C ports underneath the aircon. There is a little space for you to throw more things right here. And one of my favorite features is the internal V2L. So you get a 3-pin plug right here, which then you can use your Ioniq 5 just like a gigantic mobile office. You can slide over here, park your car under the sun, be blown by the aircon, pull out your laptop, start doing your work, have your kids entertained, watch a show in front. Possibilities are endless, and I really like that about this car. Now let's move on to the front. Oh, and if you're trying to knock the seats down, so you don't want the seat belt to get stuck, they add this fancy little nook right here to slot the seat belt in, which is really nice. Now over by the cabin of the Ioniq 6, things are decidedly different, yet following the same familiar theme from the Ioniq 5, your Kona. So I like that things are different yet same, very familiar. You still get your 4 dots right here from the Ioniq 5, but this time they light up. So when you're in drive, they're in blue, and then when you shift over to park, they go to a nice little pink, and they also follow your drive mode, so you get different colors. This is just a really nice touch. It's something that doesn't really mean anything. Do you need it? Your car is not going to explode if it doesn't have it, but it just adds so much character and just makes you, every day you're going to be looking at this, you're going to be like, sports mode, like, that's nice. Now over the rest of the cabin, you get very Hyundai buttons, or your instruments and your media. So you're gonna get a full suite of ADAS. You're gonna get 2 very large screens here, one for your Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, that is wired. You're gonna get access to your climate and your seat ventilation and some other things like your EV modes. And then a full instrument cluster display right here. You get the gamut of menus so you can see how your car is lined on the road, and a little green line if you're on your lane keeping assist, or you can switch over to your trip computer, or even your compass, or your tire pressure monitoring system, which is a nice touch. And then down here, you get a lot of different levels like this. This is your door handle, but it's also a place for you to slot things inside with a nice little ambient lighting up top right here and also down below. And then this over here is a nice bit of texture. Important things like your electronic parking brake and traction control for your rear-wheel drive is right here, so you get very easy access when you want to turn it off. Your mirror controls are here, but your window controls and your lock are found in the central column right here. It's gonna take you some time to get used to because you're usually gonna head here. Well, one other thing you get is a heads-up display up front, so you can see your speed, your driving aid information, as well as navigation if you are using the map navigation. This is one thing that is also inside the BYD Seal, a heads-up display, but not inside the Tesla Model 3. Now, if you move down here, you get your aircon control systems, your fan, climate, and I like that they have buttons for your camera system, your radio control, one touch to go back to Android Auto, and then you have map as well. So things are really easy to access. Down here, you're gonna get only one wireless charger in the Seal, as well as in the Tesla Model 3. You're gonna get access to 2 wireless chargers, but you only need one because this uses wired Android Auto, so you're gonna have to plug in. Then your passenger can probably use this wireless charger. But one very nice touch about this wireless charger is it really shows you, first of all, you have a raised rubber bump so that your phone doesn't slide all over the place. And then number 2, when your wireless charger is activated, there's going to be a nice little warm light right here. So when you're driving, you don't really need to look down. There's just a little orange glow right here, so you know that your phone or your passenger's phone is charging wirelessly. And then you get 2 cup holders, one for your coffee, one for your water. And then down here is your brake auto hold, windows, lock, unlock, and also child lock for the rear. So for the rear windows and rear doors, right here, very, very useful. Open here, you're gonna get a cubby space with 2 USB-C fast charging slots, and then a little box here to throw your keys in. And if that's not enough storage, you're gonna move down here and you're gonna find a very wide tray. And over on the passenger side, a pull-out drawer where the glove box used to be. If you are looking at this, you're probably also gonna be looking at the Ioniq 5, and inside the Ioniq 5, things are a lot wider, things are a lot more spacious. Instead of this center column, you get a floating, movable center console that can move forward and backwards, and then you can just like slide over really easily. But over here, it's more like a cocoon, and it's very familiar, just like the Hyundai Avante. They also have this center tray. Now, another thing versus the Model 3 and the BYD Seal, they both have panoramic glass sunroofs that cannot open, but over here, you're gonna get just a sunroof right here in the front, but they close up with a cloth cover, so I really like that. So it doesn't let things get too hot, and when you want, you can even open up the glass roof, which is something that the other two can't do. Another thing that are inside this, the Tesla Model 3 and the BYD Seal, are front ventilated seats in addition to front electric seats. Now over here, things are really nice. This is the grey interior. Personally, I think this is nice. It matches well with the white. But for me, I would go for the black interior to give things that glossier finish. But if you appreciate design and texture for the rest of the cabin, things are also going to be nice with this ambient lighting strip right here, in addition to the ones over by the door and the ones in the rear, and all these dots right here. So things feel thoughtful. It feels like the car cares for you. And another thing that I like is this little hazard light signal that also lights up, just to show you that you're on your hazard light. So with all that being said, this is a car that's designed really nicely, but does it drive as well as it looks? Only one way to find out. Driving the Hyundai Ioniq 6 Prestige 77 kilowatt hour, what does it feel like? Well, familiar, just like the Ioniq 5. But this drives better, it rides lower, the shape, it just handles better. And this being the Prestige trim, because the last one that we've set in was probably the Cat A variant. This has a slight bit more power, so it does have that little bit more fun, and it is rear-wheel drive with a huge battery, so that does assuage some of your fears about driving an electric vehicle. And if you've tested the lot of the three, the Model 3, the Seal, and the Ioniq 6, I think I would safely say this feels the most premium, because in terms of safety systems, in terms of the experience around the cabin, the materials used, like this little, not the Hyundai logo, the 4 little dots, which is supposed to be in Morse code for H. In the Ioniq 5, they were just 4 dots. In the Ioniq 6, they light up, and then when you switch the drive modes, and this is just another nice little feature, having your drive mode button right here, kind of like those little sports button on your performance cars. It's just a nice touch. You get pedal shifters for regenerative braking. You get a nice little handle right here for your drive selector. Everything feels nice to the touch. It's the plastic that feels good, and it's not the plastic that feels cheap. There's a nice design around the cabin. You get all this sort of, what does it do, you know? But it's texture, it's nice, it feels, it creates the space. It makes you feel like you want to belong inside here. Even when it comes to ambient lighting along the doors and along the trim of the car, you get 2 different colors. So it even gives a nice little contrast in that sense. And it kind of reminds you of what a nicer car should feel like. Even when it comes to, I think, manual design, because they have the most experience, right? And they really kick things up a notch when they, I think, to me, when they took it with the CN7, and all the cars after that just look beautiful. So the menus is a very clean, kind of like Android based. I think for the cars like the Nero, the Kona, they all have their own little spin, own little color scheme to it. But it's a very familiar, very easy to use. Just 3 different screens. The first one is just like a general, to see your time, you see your media playing, and the battery level. Very beautifully designed. You see a little bit of a map also. And then you swipe 1 time and you get all your main functions. There's one thing that I don't really like about the BMW OS 8.5 or OS 7.8. it's just way too many things inside. You're like scrolling, there are more apps inside there than my phone. So this keeps it nice and simple. And the rest of the design, perhaps some people won't like this as much because all your newer Korean cars and Hyundais, they just get 2 screens, which I like. Some people like, some people, I want, something different, because when it's screens, at the end of the day, especially when it's a similar set of design, they'll just copy and paste it on all other cars. But I think this design looks nice, especially when you're comparing against something like the Tesla Model 3 and the BYD Seal, which is something that I've come to discover that Chinese EV brands, Chinese brands, they tend to be a little bit lacking in their UI UX. So when you compare that against this, it's not that this isn't by any measure good. This is probably the best one of the 3. And then Tesla, they just like to be different. And with Tesla, you don't even get a heads-up display or an instrument cluster here. It's nicely put, but it's in the iPad tablet here. So this feels like a regular car, and it feels like a good car. In terms of noise, vibration, handling, this is tops. This is quiet. You get a glass roof, but you don't hear anything outside. We're currently stranded on the expressway in a jam. And you barely hear the slightest roars of buses and tipper trucks that are moving past you. And when you're with your family in your car, just gonna turn on the tunes and all of that will just mellow out. This rides soft but steady. It absorbs the humps well. It doesn't rock around. You can wiggle it a little bit and everything just feels smooth. And it feels like what a good car should feel like. It drives well and it's comfortable. People in the back, it won't feel like you're driving, It's nice, it's comfortable, it's quiet, it's a lounge. And that extends to the rest of the design of the cabin. It's a lounge, it's a place you want to be in. Like when you go to the airport, you're going to splash money for the lounge because you want to be in a place that's comfortable and quiet. And this is one of those places. And add to that, I also feel like it's not just that, because of its in-vehicle V2L, which is something I believe that the Seal doesn't have, as well as the Tesla Model 3 doesn't have any V2L at all. This has internal V2L and external V2L. So what I really love about a spacious cabin like this that's running on electricity, that doesn't, your engine isn't running, you can just park it anywhere, close the sunshade if it's too hot, pull out your laptop, plug it in, work on your whatever, and this unlocks like a realm of possibilities for me. In terms of the drive, this is one of 4 trims of Hyundai's. Inspiration at the top, you have exclusive, you have prestige, and then you have a few different battery levels. This is, I believe, 3 out of 4. But about the drive, if there's one thing to be said, it's that the Hyundais aren't really as smack your head competitive as the Teslas, as the BYDs. If you are going at this price range, you're looking at the Model 3 long range. I believe it's not the performance yet. And the Seal, I can't remember the trim level, but it's not your 100 kilowatt. It's the faster variant that they originally launched with, not yet at the performance. But both of these trims, mid-level trims, so to speak, do surpass the Ioniq 6 by quite a lot. So it's not slow, but it also doesn't feel like chalk super fast. Now, in terms of safety, this has everything you need. You have lane keeping assist, you have lane centering, you have front collision avoidance, front collision braking, you have active cruise control, blind spot monitors, everything, even side view cameras that turn on onto your instrument cluster when you signal left or signal right, which is something that I've really liked, especially liked since the Sorento that came out in 2019. Very fantastic. It's beautiful to look at. Back then, it was kind of like a novelty. Now, more and more people are doing it, but it's still just so nice to look at, so nice to help with your drive, because typically I still, check your physical blind spots, but this is just a nice additional measure. But if there's one thing to be said also about the safety systems, is it can get a little bit jarring. It can eat at you, because especially coming from an ex-Hyundai owner, it does build up, because the way they do it isn't so subtle. I like the way the Mazdas do it. Mazdas are subtle, quiet. It's really like you're in a piano lounge and a little key ding or vibration in the steering wheel lets you know. Whereas in contrast to this, it's... And I also feel that in addition to the noises and the sounds, it's also a little bit over eager. Now the good thing is that you can turn it off within the system, but I would like for it to be able to alert me without being so jarring. Another thing that people famously, I feel like many people don't like so much is the lane departure warning. So when I'm starting to veer out of the lane, in addition to trying to pull you back, there is that little beep. So that goes away with signal. So by the way, people, if you're complaining about that, then you're not signaling when you're changing your lanes. But if you do wish to, you can hold down the lane centering button and the logo goes orange, and now you can safely veer into all the lanes that you want, which isn't really a good thing. But that's that. So, is the Hyundai Ioniq 6 a will buy, won't buy, or go try? If you ask me, this Hyundai Ioniq 6 Prestige 77 kWh is a go try. Because at this level, and I love it, it's so competitive, there's so many things to look at. And I really see the value of the Ioniq 6, a Hyundai product like this. I love it. But at the same time, there's so many options to choose from. It's like going to a bespoke buffet and then what specifically do you want? So the downsides of the Hyundai Ioniq 6 is it is a little bit more expensive when you're looking at competitors, you're looking at similar cars that are going up against this. But at the same time, they each have their very own appreciations. Like for me, if you ask me, the Hyundai Ioniq 6, it's the most refined. It's the one that people turn their head to look at the most. It's the one that drives the most comfortably. This cruises and takes your family. You can take your family on a cruise and it just feels fantastic. If you ask me, some of the other competitors are a little bit more about sporty driving and a little bit more about feeling like you are the underdog taking it to the champ. So with this, it does come in at quite bit premium above its other competitors. But if you're looking at something like super hard driving, super fast driving, something that really punches out the competition, then this one actually kind of falls short. But in terms of tech, in terms of as a car maker, I believe that they have a lot to offer. So now talking about competitors, we first saw this coming out with the rear-wheel drive Cat A variant in the Singapore Motor Show earlier this year, which was the first of the three to hit us with a Cat A model, and I like that. But if you're talking about competitors, I also feel like one of the biggest competitors to this car itself, because when you're looking at this car, you're probably going to be looking at this other car, and that is the Hyundai Ioniq 5, and that also comes in Cat A. And a lot of the design features, a lot of the niceties within the cabin, a lot of the brand features, you're also going to find inside the Ioniq 5, which is just a slight bit cheaper, especially if you're looking Cat A to Cat A. You're going to get all the safety systems, you're going to get ventilated seats, sunroof, all of that. You're going to get V2L as well. But it's just a different body style. That one is still really nice, really roomy, really useful, probably really family friendly. This one is slightly a little bit less space, but a little bit more style. And along with that, this kind of body, this kind of weight distribution, then you can probably drive a little bit more fun if you catch my drift. So that's it. That's our review of the Hyundai Ioniq 6 Prestige 77 kWh. What do you think? Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? Let us know down in the comments below, as well as any other car that you'd like to see us try out. Do leave it in the comments. Any other feature, leave it in the comments and I'll read every single one of these. Now, if you've made it this far, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any of our future uploads. And lastly, do follow us on TikTok. We are at Sgcarmart. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one. So that's it. That's our review of the Hyundai Ioniq 6 Prestige 77 kW. Hyundai Ioniq 6. Hyundai Ioniq 6 Prestige 77 kWh. There is power in me, yet my race is not yet run.